Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to Accelerated Health Radio and TV. I'm your host, Sarah Banta. I'm a health coach, natural supplement expert, and a busy mom of 3 teenagers. I believe that your body does want to and is capable of rebuilding itself and healing itself regardless of what chronic disease you may have. I'm here for you to answer your questions, bring you innovative and cutting-edge technology and health solutions to empower you and your ability to reach your optimal state of health. Today, my guest will be talking about nutrition and hydration and how physical, mental, and spiritual health are all intertwined. And I know better than anyone that you really need that strong physical foundation to work on your mental growth, whether it's overcoming anxiety and depression, losing weight, or detoxing your body in the proper way. You do need a strong physical foundation of health in order to gain that willpower to make the bigger changes in your life. If you're new to following me, I specialize in helping you get there. You can find my health articles, my cutting edge natural supplements and protocols at acceleratedhealthproducts.com. I dive into an array of health conditions, their causes and symptoms, and how to address them naturally. I have spent thousands of dollars and hours of my own time biohacking different supplements and diets that don't work, so you don't have to. If you have any health issues you need help with, you can email me directly through the website. I personally read every one. Accelerated Health Products is the sponsor of this show, so as you support my website, I'm able to bring you more cutting-edge content and guests to the show. Now that we are officially in the fall, whether you're worried about COVID or not, it is the usual cold and flu season, and it's really important to take care of yourself and boost your immune system. So I wanted to mention my trio of supplements that is the best arsenal for boosting your immune system and fighting off those cold and flu bugs: My Vital C, Accelerated Silver, and Accelerating Iodine. They work together to devitalize foreign pathogens, including viruses and bacteria, boost the immune system, create natural antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, antiseptic, antioxidant, anti-allergenic environment. So first, My Vital C, which is also known as ESS60. It is not vitamin C. In fact, it's actually 172 times more powerful than vitamin C. It's been proven to be highly effective at addressing one of the most stubborn viruses that humanity has ever encountered, that being HIV. For a long time, there was no cure, but now My Vital C is observed to have virus-killing properties, and it has been patented as a treatment for HIV. So it reduces the infections caused by HIV, but it also directly inhibits the reproduction of the viruses. So normally, viruses can cause disease in the human body by taking over the cells of the body and replicating until it overwhelms the immune system. So typically, as a young and healthy person, the immune system can overcome most common viruses, such as the common cold and flu, not necessarily the fact for older people. That's why this patent is so amazing. So while it's a step of inference to say that ESS60 or My Vital C could be used to treat other illnesses, we do know that regular use of it can improve your immune system. And as I mentioned, it's 172 times more powerful than vitamin C. It's known as an antibiotic. It improves sleep. And also it doubles your lifespan. I've actually seen my gray hair turn back to the normal color. Number 2 is Accelerating Iodine. It is the wild card in supporting the immune system. It's antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, antimicrobial, and so much more. It also produces healthy apoptosis, which is the natural death of traumatized and unhealthy cells. There is no pathogen resistant to iodine. And what people don't know, it's actually being talked about now in the news, Iodine was used to protect people from the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic that killed over 30 million people. Number 3 is accelerated scalar silver. Not only does accelerated scalar silver have an alkaline pH of 8.0, and we're going to talk about the importance of alkalinity with our guest, it creates an environment that foreign pathogens cannot survive in, but it's also programmed with bioinformational scalar technology to further help this and strengthen the immune system and devitalize those foreign pathogens. And like acceleradine, the scalar frequencies embedded in the silver lift you to a higher state of being or a higher frequency. Furthermore, we use microclustered water technology to lower the surface tension for better absorption. No other silver company does this. So now get to the good stuff. Bill Sickert is an award-winning communicator with recognition in writing competitions that date back to his grade school days. Bill has authored the book Water, published in 2008. The publication was chosen by Better Nutrition and reached bookstands of over 12,000 health food stores nationwide. His humble beginnings led to over $1 billion in consumer product sales, included Barleans Organic Oils, Garden of Life, Penta Water, and other projects. Welcome, Bill. How are you this morning?
Honored to be on the show, Sarah. This is very exciting for me. It's such a good time. So, yeah. And hats off to your product line, first of all, for everybody. That, you know, you created it. You have your website. You have your product line. I have, you know, your products in my house, and they're outstanding. And I'm an ultimate critic of products because, you know, there's a lot of junk out there, and there's no junk on your website. That's for sure. So.
No. Well, thank you. I pride myself in only representing the best of the best because there's no reason that I need to carry anything else. So I truly, and people ask me, do you use what you sell? And I say, I use everything I sell every day. And I biohack, and I've spent thousands of dollars on things that don't work. So that's where I want to, I'm really excited to dive into the myths and the scams of the whole water industry and what's true and what's not true. But first, why don't we touch on your background a little bit?
Well, I started in health through the medical side of things. So I was actually a home health administrator and worked in the area of home health, home infusion therapy, you know, that's IV drugs. And the most rewarding experience was actually a challenge I had from a parent of a medically fragile child. And I'll never forget that moment when he said, "You seem like a smart guy. You got a law degree, a business degree, all this other stuff. And why does my son have to spend Christmas in the skilled nursing facility at Children's Hospital San Diego?" And that was just a laser beam through my heart. And I was a young guy in my 30s, normally only worried about whether or not my car is clean. And it caused a just complete change in what was available out there. And in a nutshell, just a 60-second thing, we had California Children's Services, Regional Center, Medi-Cal, all these funding sources. And I said, is it possible if we all meet in a room to make this all take place in one location, one room? And we created Special Care Center, which was a medically fragile child center that integrated not sick kids into kids that had challenges. And we did that in 18 months. And I had the best of the best physicians, neurosurgeons behind what we were doing. And it worked out great. So it was like, that was it. And then, you know, people are always like, well, Bill, how'd you get into, you know, you were like so heavily into that. I'm like, that was, you know, a major accomplishment. You know, the ship was launched. Now there are duplicate programs all throughout Southern California for what they call integration of children with regular kids that have medically fragile issues. And that was it. It's like, okay, the kick is good. Now, what else are you going to do? And that's how I got into more natural, because one of my nurses introduced me to this guy that was this, I call him Yoda, little guy at a show in Las Vegas in natural products. And it happened to be Terry Lemeron, who started enzymatic therapy. And then he was interested in having somebody with a medical pharmacy background to launch his line to bring natural products into a pharmacy environment. And he said, the only thing I don't have is anybody that knows any compounding pharmacy or any pharmacist. I said, I know every single one of them in Southern California, because the medically fragile kids can't take things orally. So to be graphic, most of it's suppository. And these are the guys that literally took every kind of medication for these kids and made it into a safe thing that the parents could administer to the children. And I'm like, wow, this is great. So that's how it all started.
Wow. And then what led you into the world of water?
So in multisport, I ended up meeting a guy named Bill Holloway, and multisport being triathlon. And he goes, hey, you got to try this stuff. Tony Robbins does, the whole pitch. And I'm like, okay, yeah, the Firewalk, Tony Robbins, you got all these people. And then I met him in his little office in San Diego. And then ultimately, years later, after I used the product, I'm like, what's up with this? So his son, Mike Holloway, was really the technician behind it. And they used a technology that was called sonoluminescence, which is really, for the listeners, beating the heck out of the water and creating sound and light in a real micro level. And it literally changes some of the nature of the water. I'm like, look, I don't know, but all I got to tell you is at 160 heart rate, this water is the only water I've ever drank on my bike in a triathlon that didn't burp back up. And he goes, well, yeah, that's why. I'm like, so what are the properties? That was how I'm like, it was the first time somebody said, what's in this glass is different. And I said, why? And within, 4 years, I became the CEO of his technology company, AquaPhotonics, in an 80,000 square foot facility in Carlsbad, California. And Penta is still on the shelves today, and that's how I got into the water world.
It's amazing. I was telling you before we started that my husband's the biggest skeptic in the world, and I know God gave me him so that I knew what I was talking about, and that I only brought the best of the best into my company and into the house. And we've had an alkaline water machine forever. And he hates it because we've had ones that break and they break and they break, and he has to fix everything, right? But when I brought in the hydrogen water pitcher, he goes, oh no, what's this? What are we dealing with now? And he kept drinking it, and he kept drinking it. And he says, I don't know what it's doing for me, but I like the taste. And so anyways, he of course wants to know the difference between all the different waters. Are they scams? What is it? But let's first start with what the difference is between reverse osmosis, distilled water, alkaline water, the basic waters that we've all known about. And then we'll get into the hydrogen water.
Yeah, there you go. So let me get on my soapbox. So at Penta, when here I'm this technology CEO, and at the first board of directors meeting there was a guy named, we call him Shelly, his real name is Sheldon Jacobs, and his resume was he actually created plasma that could be used based on his experience with Vietnam War. And most of the death in Vietnam was actually the loss of blood. And if they could have provided a fluid to put in the person in an IV through, just immediate triage, these people would live, even though they do need to rebuild their blood supply. So I'm like, okay, this guy's not dumb. And I said, so Shelly, what's up with what we've got here? And we had very private conversations outside the board meeting. And your husband's going to love me because I'm a critic too. So he said, Bill, you got to understand, you with water can do certain things, okay? You can, and here's this major scientist reducing everything down to definitely nowhere near the 2 PhDs that he had that I don't have. And he said, you can boil it, you can freeze it, you can filter it, you can carbonate it, and you can flavor it. And you've just named virtually 70% of all the consumer products out there, including club soda, Coca-Cola, clear water, alkaline water, whatever it is that's out there. So I'm like, okay, I get it. So then my next question was, at Penta, what do we have here? I've heard of this sonoluminescence and all that. He goes, well, what that process does is reduces the viscosity of the water. And he said there was originally, when he did his medical school, a viscosity study, and one of the tests that they did in the lab was they would take urine from the students, okay, and water and distilled water and all that, and there's a surface tension that takes place on a petri dish. And one of their understandings, and the whole thing behind the lab, was to show that viscosity has, an issue and some benefits. And Penta was a very low viscosity water. So the different things that are out there, it's like distilled water. The problem, and it's not a problem, but it's just distilled water is always subject to the crucible that creates the steam, that creates the condensation, that creates the water. And that could be aluminum, stainless steel, ceramic. It could be any number of things. So your distilled water, the reason it has a weird twang to it is because of that process. But it's definitely low in dissolved solids, which means if I go to my tap water in my office, that's going to be about 247 to 260 parts per million of dissolved solids. All right. And the reason why tap water is not necessarily great is because it has a high degree of calcium, which is actually used to reduce the flavor or that smell of this thing that happens when we go to a swimming pool, chlorine. One of the major events that has to take place with tap water is chlorination of it to reduce the bacterial count, kill it, and then we've got to load it with calcium. So your husband is right in a certain way. And here's the deal. Most alkaline water machines use platinum and titanium anodes and cathodes to create the alkalinity. The beauty is what we'll talk about in a few minutes, which is hydrogen, but it sucks calcium out of the water. So it's like a death knell for whatever money you spend on the alkalinity, because you have to clean that with, a vinegar or whatever, and nobody does. And a lot of the manufacturers don't even tell you how to do it, or you'd be messing around with it. And then the other factor is platinum and titanium will actually reduce out, which you don't have in this product, which is extraordinarily clean. And you can have experienced that with an alkaline water machine. There are many out there, I'm not going to mention names, but people, how long have you had that? Oh, 2 years. Well, have you cleaned the filter? Huh? I don't know. It came with the house, that type of thing. So I'm sure he'll be happy to listen to this.
I don't want to tell him to listen, because we have had multiple machines break, and essentially it's because of the calcium buildup. And and he's one that does change filters and does all the right things, but they still break. So and then your delivery in most homes, and it's what I have, there's 4-stage, 3-stage, 7-stage, 8-stage, whatever, reverse osmosis. And reverse osmosis is the process is to create a clean water through multiple filtration systems. And then you can actually add
good minerals back into the water, even though you've stripped it completely clean through a mineral matrix. So, I happen to have a 7-stage antibacterial reverse osmosis system that I use as the basis of my world of water. And those are good things. So, well, can I go to Home Depot and get one of these? Yeah, probably not going to be the best one, but you can get a really good reverse osmosis system for your home for a few $100s, and it works great. But back to your husband, filtration and changing the filters is critical. And for anybody, and please be a good consumer, if there's filter number 1, number 2, and number 3, or 4, 5, 6, 7, buy 10 of the filter number 1s. And you're like, what's up with that? It's the first line of defense for all the garbage that comes out of the water. So that's what you want. And most filters are between $20 and $30, and you can change them out. And then people are always like, oh, well, Bill, how often do I need to do it? I don't know. Do you have 14 teenagers at home?
Right.
And, so is your water consumption high? And that's where you want to probably do that every 3 months. All right. I have 2 people and a very large cat in my house. So I change mine out maybe every 9 months. And I just simply write on, the thing. It's almost like, here's how fast my child grew. You can just write on there 1/1/2020, and you know when to change it out. Just take a peek under there and you can change it out.
And that is, it's like, how often do you need to get new running shoes? Well, are you running 3 miles a week, or are you running 15? And I've got 3 teenagers. They're all athletes, and we drink a lot of water. So we go through very quickly. Well, okay. So let's get into hydrogen water. And what is it? Does it matter? And you touched on this a little bit, because what I do is I do have an alkaline water machine. So I take that alkaline water and I put it in my hydrogen pitcher. And I don't know if that's a waste of money or not. It's more out of convenience because they're right next to each other, and that's the water I have. Is it benefiting me any more, any less, or does it not make a difference?
Probably benefiting a whole lot more. And the myth of hydrogen out there, and I've been in the space for so many years. I actually make a hydrogen supplement that I ship to an exclusive distributor in England, of all places. And so I've been in the scientific space of hydrogen, and then but that was a supplement. So it's like, all right, now hydrogen water. So what are we doing here? And while you can boil, freeze, filter, carbonate, flavor water, there are some really big hits, some home runs that you can do. And one of them is creating hydrogen. And the way it's done typically is, and not to get too geeky, but an anode and a cathode. And one of the products I work with is actually a pitcher. You can literally walk out to your car and it's still on because it's battery powered. But what it's doing is robbing Paul to pay Peter, a biblical phrase, okay? And what it does is it liberates oxygen, and as a result of that, it actually creates molecular hydrogen. So you can literally, like in this little pitcher, sniff it after it's been on for a few minutes, and it smells like fresh rain because it's so oxygenated. And actually, it is oxygen, and that's what is going on. And the mythology with hydrogen is, I have seen, and it kind of drives me crazy, but I have seen, well, this is a can of hydrogen water in the health food store, or this is hydrogen rich water. And hydrogen is a very fleeting substance, okay? And people always think, wait a minute, I thought hydrogen gas was bad and all that. No, that's the Hindenburg, okay? A giant dirigible that blew up. It's a very volatile gas. That's not what we're talking about here. So it's actually the same type of gas that's created in your body, and your body wants it, and it actually creates it in the gut. So if you can create it in the water and have a certain amount of it, parts per million, which is usually between 3 and 5. The pitcher probably cranks out about 4.5, 5 parts per million just in a 10-minute change of water. So you taking your reverse osmosis or virtually any water, it can improve. The thinner the water, the less junk in it. So I'm going to have a real happy day with your filtered water in that pitcher or in any kind of process than any other, tap water. So people are, well, can I just, pour Diet Coke in there? No, don't. So, but the thing with creating H2O or hydrogen in H2O is there's a release of oxygen, okay? And you're actually adding the hydrogen to the water. And that is the most powerful, selective antioxidant known to man. Hundreds of studies on hydrogen technology. And back to my Hindenburg story, well, I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna get hydrogen gas and just breathe it. No, it doesn't work that way. It has to be in a medium that's water, that's the best, and in a medium that's ingestible into the gut. That's your pie hole, your mouth. Yeah. So once you have that, it's really cool. Here's the fantastic thing about hydrogen creation in an anode and cathode in any number of different machines that are out there. Echo is probably one of the best out there. What you're doing is actually the release of oxygen, and people think like, "Oh, you're killing the water. I buy oxygenated water." No, yeah, it really doesn't work that way. So what you're getting is negative ORP, oxidative reductase potential, or just, and it can be PORP, which would not be good. The negative ORP, when you have a correct anode cathode hydrogen creation and the number of parts per million, you get between 400 and 450 negative ORP. That is just a whole side benefit. It's the car that never gets dirty. It's the car that never needs to be clean. It's like negative ORP is also a really good thing for human health. And that's what you got with, a good hydrogen water machine. And, just to dig in a little bit, Penta Water was not alkaline. And I got into extraordinary battles with, representatives and people buying the product. Well, I just did the pH test and it's this and that. And it's like, alkaline water is good in this. Okay, when you have products like this, alkalinity is extraordinary. And just to cheat a little bit, I've looked at this product for a long time and use it in a nasal sprayer for my eyes. And the only reason I can do that is because of the alkalinity, right? If it was Penta water, it would sting, okay? So now I get natural silver in, the optic region, which that's why people are walking around with COVID with their masks on. So that's what we've got. And, so you get it, but there's so many different misunderstandings. And I would never expect anybody in a water bar or water, store to, engage in this level because, they don't have the background or the experience. And then the other thing that's really important, and I want to reemphasize this with your, filtration system, is the actual nature of filtration. And those are things really, there are so many different materials in filters that make one cost $100 and one cost $20. And I'm not saying pay more, it's better, but there are all kinds, even the charcoal structures of the charcoal filtration, which is typically the first filtration to get the chlorine and all that garbage out. And there's coconut-based natural materials that are 20 times better than just straight charcoal. which is not much different than going to the grill in the backyard and lighting up a couple of steaks. So anyway.
Interesting. Well, we are going to take a short commercial break real quick, and we're going to come back and answer some of your questions, but also talk about the benefits that people are seeing from hydrogen water. So we'll be right back.
Are you wanting to optimize your physical, mental, and emotional health? Visit www.acceleratedhealthproducts.com. Accelerated Health Products to detox, reset, and rebuild your immune system naturally, and to accelerate your body, mind, and spirit with cutting-edge supplements and solutions. Get Sarah Banta's personal advice on a protocol just right for you. That's www.acceleratedhealthproducts.com.
Welcome back to Accelerated Health Radio and TV. I'm your host, Sarah Banta, the owner of Accelerated Health Products. And today we have Bill Sickert, and we are talking about the benefits of hydrogen water. Real quick, I wanted to answer a couple questions in the chat room, but then I want to make sure we have time to talk about all of the benefits that you're actually getting from the hydrogen water. One person is asking, what is the city putting in our waters? Which maybe we don't want to know the answer to this question.
Great question. Gosh. I've had this discussion before. It's not what they're putting in the water, it's what they're not taking out. So yeah, perfect question. So but to answer the question, what are they putting in the water? And it's usually buffers that are trying to cut down on the chlorine content. And for the longest time, I've lived in Carlsbad, and one of the sewage treatment plants, which actually is sewage treatment, yes, but what comes out the other end is your tap water. And it would smell so bad in the afternoons when the marine later would be leaving, and then other, air comes in of chlorine. And it was just like, holy, I mean, you almost have to roll up your windows. It'd sting your eyes. And then they ultimately got the complaint and then put, the lids on the vats of water, and then the sediment goes somewhere. And then that sediment typically goes to a landfill. And one of the landfills was actually Fiesta Island down in San Diego. And that's where I did my first triathlon. So I was literally like, I can't get away from it. So, but what they don't take out, I mean, there's no, bazillion-dollar reverse osmosis system. And I would say the most offending thing is the residual things in pharmaceuticals. So literally birth control pills, all these things that go down, which is why there's been, an advancement of, please take those to a recycling center. Don't throw them down the toilet. But narcotics, you name it, it's all kinds of stuff. And then what people need to understand, and I don't mean to be grotesque, but obviously anybody using any pharmaceutical, the artifact from that, where does it go? In the sewer, in the toilet. So you can't stay away from it. So yeah, good question as to what they put in. More importantly, what they don't take out.
Yeah, it's when you touch on the chlorine, I do foot baths, and I don't swim in a pool. I have filters in my that I'm taking showers with my water in my house, right? My foot baths smell like chlorine every single time I do them. And it's because there's just no way of getting around it within our environment. So let's go through the benefits and what people are seeing from the hydrogen water studies that you've had, because there's hundreds and hundreds of studies. And this is a question from my husband, of course, like, is it a scam or where's the research? And he wants to know. So let's go through some of the benefits that you're seeing and what has been proven.
Well, the research is fantastic, and I've literally gone to sports physiology conferences in Florida and poster presentations with people on different aspects of hydrogen. So I don't want to say too good to be true, but it's inarguable as far as the science on molecular hydrogen, and then water, clearly, as you read through the science, is the best delivery of that, which is an indictment. I make a hydrogen product that's not water. Okay, so I have to sit back and say, yeah, but hydrogen water machines are actually better. Okay, and here's why. And some of them are not better, and you've experienced that with your alkaline water that clogs, your alkaline machine that clogs up with calcium. So, I always ask, what's the mechanism of action? Okay, why am I feeling a little bit better? Why is this? And there's a hormone that actually hydrogen stimulates called ghrelin, and it stimulates the brain. It's actually a hormone that is also tandem with creating hunger in the body. And you're thinking, well, I don't want to be hungry, but in its hydrogen delivery in the gut, it creates a much better mood. And then the other thing with hydrogen is the antioxidant potential. So, and I, as you and I have talked, I can't stand, well, geez, my hand grew back. I took this hydrogen water, and that's your husband. And I despise that as well. But when you look at the science from an antioxidant point of view, it's core. And all I have to say, as a closing comment, or, near the end of the show comments, is and it was a professor in my nutrition program, and he said, guys, there's root and fruit, and there were guys and gals in the room. So root and fruit. And he's like, so what tree cannot or can grow without water? And I'm like, a succulent? No, can't. Has to actually have water. And he went into all these examples. Cactus needs a little bit of water, but it's largely a storage device for water that can memorize the fact that it rained 6 months ago, so I need to hang on to this stuff. The cactus plant is an extremely intelligent body to monitor water. But he said, there's no fruit without the root being taken care of with water. And he goes, you got to understand, from a hydrogen and water point of view, throw in the negative ORP is like, wow, that's a great flower on a tree. That's what you got. And he goes, so, and this was his discussion of hydration. That's how we, literally, it was hydration 101. So if you don't have that, or you're not picky about that, or you're not, a water freak, then a lot of the other stuff, is kind of like, you really need to look at what you're doing. And that's why I was stimulated, as we all go back to initial educations or experiences, and he definitely hit home with that. So when you have hydrogen water with negative ORP going into the body, and people are like, oh, do I need a glass every week? No, hydration is literally an hourly thing for most people, right? It's been 45 minutes. This is almost gone. Okay. And you should go through, a couple liters of water on a minimum basis. And the hydrogen negative ORP water, how it's created, is going to be your best shot. Okay. And that's the root. We noticed that in clinical studies we did with Penta, relaxation, reduction of blood pressure, all these other things. It's like the body is getting what it needs. And most people after the age of 40 do just flat out don't drink enough water. And people are always like, well, that's because I'm busy. No, that's because I got this show. I got Bill Sickert on. I got to do this. I got to do that. And it's actually a hormone that depletes in the body, which ghrelin from hydrogen water can actually help stimulate the desire for water. Magical.
So how does it help ATP energy and metabolism? What's the mechanism there?
So ATP, adenosine triphosphate, as they know it, and metabolism will actually shut down in a state of dehydration. And the way it happens is your body's respecting and understanding through the hypothalamus, several other hormonal stimulation things, that you don't have enough water. Now, my thing is, think about it. You're a plumbing system. So if you fuel the plumbing system with hydration, then everything else runs better. Now, granted, if you only drink water and never fuel your body with anything else, I completely disagree with that, unless you're fasting. Okay, and even modified fasting, I prefer that there's some juicing going on there. But it's a basic thing to kind of keep your whole fluid system going. And people are always like, well, yeah, that's human physiology. I go, no. You drive a car. Yeah, all right. So let's just take half the radiator fluid out. What signals are going to go on in that thing? Let's take half the windshield wiper fluid out. Radiator fluid is more aligned with what I'm talking about. Your engine can't run that well. So pour it in, keep the radiator full.
Yeah.
And, and I've heard arguments on, well, I've heard you can drown, you have overhydration. I'm like, haven't actually seen any of that in my lifetime, although I'm certain that you can probably overhydrate. You can do everything over too much, but haven't seen it with hydration orally.
Well, that brings me up a question where, if you're drinking the wrong water, you can actually dehydrate yourself. And there, you need to make sure you're taking in the electrolytes. So how does hydrogen water work with electrolytes? And I also, is it benefit you even more to be taking your electrolyte supplement or powder in the hydrogen water? Is the absorption better because of the surface area of the water? How does that all work?
Answer yes to both. So in creating hydrogen, so great question. I love you. The hydrogen is created best in the thinnest water you got. So after you make it in whatever machine you've got, then you can add the electrolytes, which is huge. And what hydrogen does with electrolytes, and they're, micronutrients. I'm big on humic and fulvic acid, as this whole matrix of millions of different plant-based materials. And hydrogen is kind of like you and I walk in to watch a movie, and it's like, I don't know, Sarah, where are you going to go? Okay, over here. I can't see. It's dark. All right. And it's the usher with a flashlight. It literally provides a mechanism of delivery through its antioxidant and ghrelin and other things that gets the electrolytes to activate more in the body. So it's really the flashlight to get you to your chair so you don't trip over anybody, knock over anybody's popcorn, and you're in the theater, now you're happy, and you can sit and watch the movie. But hydrogen, in a nutshell, is definitely that to the human body.
Interesting. How does it affect your alkalinity of your blood? Is there any benefit, or is it a zero-sum game when you're talking about hydrogen water? And I know we're talking about the ultimate antioxidant, right? So we're reducing oxidative stress throughout the body, and it helps with muscle fatigue. And also I wanted to make sure that people know that it helps the effects of the aging of the skin, which as a 44-year-old, I'm for sure into, and helps with anxiety and depression, and the microflora of the gut, which is something that everyone is suffering from when we're talking about leaky gut. And I've got a ton of information on my website if anyone's suffering from leaky gut. But can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And alkalinity, it's kind of I'm going to get on my high horse just for a second, but I've worked with an alkaline company and an alkaline diet, and I'm very familiar with that whole message, and I think it's incredibly important. But when you're talking to a guy, back to my buddy Shelly Jacobs, about alkalinity and acidity of Penta Water or any other product, he goes, Bill, the body actually doesn't work that way. It has a constant matrix of acid and alkalinity. There's all kinds of things going on to create. And he said, if your alkalinity of your blood changed within a couple of 100 points, you'd be dead, right? So It's like, oh, you're this. So a classic example is kidney failure. And when you're in renal failure, you are literally, truly creating an acidic environment in your body, and it will destroy you. It'll eat the brain. It's not good. And it happens to every dialysis patient, usually a year or two before they go on dialysis. So, alkalinity is real as a heart attack, but, also from a certain, I need to eat this and don't eat that. It doesn't have as much merit, but I'm a huge fan of alkaline diets, greens, using supplements that create alkalinity, and alkalinity is actually created through mineral supplementation. And minerals are best absorbed from plants, and maybe not that juicy red steak, that type of thing. So great question. And, it's a benefit for sure, but you have to watch out for, some of the fanatics that are out there. Oh, well, I need to be on the alkaline diet. You do, but you need to be on the good food diet.
Right. Well, and I agree with you 100%. Your body needs to have a different pH in your urine versus your blood versus your stomach. They're all extremely different. And if your stomach is alkaline, you're not going to digest anything. So
correct. You're talking to a low acid stomach guy.
And me too. I need to take enzymes with my food to break it down. But we are running out of time. I can't believe that went really fast. Why don't you tell people where they can find you and New Life Ventures? I love the water. I can't say enough about it. And there will be a link in the show notes as far as where you can click on and read more about it.
So the best thing, I know you've got hundreds of people out there, if not more, listening, but I actually prefer the good old-fashioned call 760-421-8255. A lot of people have questions after they listen to things, and 760-421-8255 is right here. And the human being answering that is right here. And people are often overwhelmed. And then my email is williamsickert50@gmail.com, williamsickert50@gmail.com. Both are very good, and just say, hey, I saw you on Sarah Banta's show and whatever. And then we can start the dialogue, because people need, the reason I love what you do is because people need education.
Yeah.
And they oftentimes need a good 45 minutes to an hour to get educated so they can actually make a decision, as opposed to go to this website, go to that website. I will say you can go to your website and there's not a mistake made. All those products are extremely good.
Thanks, Bill. I really appreciate it. And you touched on something like with my 3 kids. The only time I ever get buy-in from them to take supplements or to eat the right foods is when I make them understand why and the side effects of not doing the right thing. You can't just tell someone to do something and expect them to stick with it forever. They've got to have the buy-in. So anyways, thank you so much for joining us. And please reach out to Bill if you do have questions, or reach out to me and I can get you in contact with him. And thank you for joining us today. If I can help you with your health issues, contact me, Sarah Banta, at sarah@acceleratedhealthproducts.com. I'm happy to put together a protocol for you. I know sometimes it's hard to know where to start. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram under Accelerated Health Products, and my YouTube channel under Accelerated Health Radio. You can also find me and this episode on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher, Pandora, or whatever podcast platform you subscribe to. I am now also doing Accelerated Health Bites, where I do short informational videos about health topics and solutions you ask about. So if you have a health condition or a topic you want me to address, let me know. And if you like what you heard today, please hit the subscribe button and share this with a few of your friends who may need my help. As you share my channel, it helps me help more people like you and bring more cutting edge guests like Bill on my show. Don't miss next week's interview with Jimmy Moore from Livin' La Vida Low Carb. He was a pioneer in the low carb movement, and honestly, probably the first podcaster that I listened to when I dove deep into low carb and keto. And he's going to be amazing. Again, you can find the supplements and many informational videos on the website, acceleratedhealthproducts.com. You can also use coupon W4HC20 for 20% off site-wide. As you support Accelerated Health Products, I'm able to bring you this show and the amazing guests. Thanks again for joining us here on Accelerated Health Radio and TV, and have a great week. Thanks, Bill.
See you.